Assalamualaikum and good day. So today we're going to start the presentation for the vehicle dynamics assignment. So our topics are the light vehicle rollover. Okay, so my name is Muhammad Nabil and I'm going to start this presentation. Okay. Okay, so first for this assignment, all the members of the groups each need to present the journal article regarding or that have relation with the topic, the vehicle rollover of light vehicle. So these are the journals that we have acquired. So the first is the rollover dynamics of a narrow tilting three-wheeled vehicle, an overview of car rollover system development, the effect of rollover protection systems and trailer on quad bike stability, the rollover index for the diagnosis of trip and untripped rollovers, and finally the rollover crashworthiness of quad bike and side-by-side vehicles, a comparative laboratory testing study. Okay, so for the introduction of the assignment, vehicle rollover is defined as a 90-degree or more rotation of the vehicle around its longitudinal axis. This phenomenon starts by two wheels lift off in the same vehicle side. Hereby, rollover risk can be also evaluated around the axis joining the two other wheels still on the ground. Vehicle rollover is a major traffic safety accident that causes loss of life and property. It is very easy for vehicles in high-speed sharp turns or high-speed overtaking to roll over. Okay. Now we're going to start with the first journal. So the rollover dynamics of a narrow tilting three-wheel vehicle that is published on January 2016. So for the abstract, this article summarizes the current mainstream models of rollovers, rollover warning hardware and algorithms, and calculates rollover angles through simulation, and compare the pros and cons of this kind of scheme, made a summary of the analysis and warning of rollover stability. So for the methodology, the effects of leaning on the rollover speed is analyzed and comparisons of rollover speeds are discussed between two types of three-wheel vehicles, the tadpole and delta configurations. The former one will have two wheels at the front axle and one at the rear, whereas the later one will have vice versa. So for the three-wheel tadpole model, this is the three-wheel tadpole model. In this section, a three-wheel tadpole configuration is considered. The center of mass of the vehicle is displaced by an angle theta angle degree with respect to the point P in the ground plane GG as shown. Okay, so for the three-wheel delta model, similarly like the tadpole model, the three-wheel delta model as shown can also be solved to find rollover speeds. Okay, as for the simulation, the vehicle model has been set up to have taken a certain mass, length, a base and a center of mass. It is assumed to negotiate a curve of radius with a set up acceleration magnitude. Also, the graphs are plotted for various lean angles to know the significance of leaning. Okay, so this is the simulation result for the three-wheel tadpole model and the three-wheel delta model. Okay, as for the discussion result, the vehicle has a better stability if the horizontal position of the center of mass is close to the end with two wheels. The tadpole model is more stable if the center of mass position is nearer to the front end, and for the delta model, it should be nearer to the rear end. The mass of the passenger or the vehicle indirectly going to change the stability in case of a three-wheel vehicles by affecting the center of mass. The delta model is more stable while accelerating in a turn, and the tadpole model is more stable while braking in a turn. So for the conclusion, it can be concluded by leaning the vehicle, the stability of a narrow three-wheel vehicle could be matched with that of a standard four-wheel vehicle. The outcome of this work can be useful for defining the optimal lean angle for a three-wheel vehicle. Okay, that's all for my journal. So we're going to proceed with the next journal.
Okay, my name is Muhammad Aiman and I will. My name is Muhammad Aiman and I will present for journal 2. Okay, my topic is overall of car rollover system developed 2018. Okay, for the abstract paper is to analyze the minimum lead angle necessary for the narrow three-wheel vehicle under lateral acceleration to negate curve safety. Okay, from the journal, the methodology that is in order to reduce rollover accident of light vehicle and improve the handling and road stability of the light vehicle, the necessary active safety measure must be taken to avoid the rollover of the vehicle. Okay, from the journal, okay, we made the car rollover model. Okay, the model assume the following assumption. The car is still, so it does not take into account the effect of longitude motion. The characteristic of the impact of rollover is suspension simplified to the ideal torsion spring with damping. At the same time, assume the later speed and your related speed is small, linear can be proceed. Okay, the first car model is 3 degrees of freedom model. 3 degree of freedom model vehicle. Model adds a degree of the roll freedom. Direct on the 3 direction, finding movement along the y-axis, or yaw around the z-axis, roll around the x-axis. The degree of freedom model use the previous wheel angle as input. Next. Okay, the second rollover model is the drum model. The drum model is the model approve the vehicle to a roller of the same vehicle or the same vehicle mass, the same axis or rotation on the rollover vehicle, which roller of the same movement of initial roll surface. Roller model and the ground equation, friction factor, force as shown on the picture. Okay, for the discussion, I got that in general term, rollover is usually divided into 2 categories, driving rollover and non-driving rollover. For the driving rollover, the process of generating a side when the side slip out the normal road, one side of the tire into the muddy road or zipping road or anything that the tire will not grip. Okay, for the non-type rollover is usually at the high speed of to avoid obstacle course, also known as the curvilinear motion rollover. Non-trip rollover by the vehicle on parameter road input, driving condition and external factor. Okay, for the conclusion, the rollover yearly warning that emission reduce the rollover caused by the man-made accident with a great resource value and the provide a reference solution for the design and testing of the vehicle stability rollover warning and control system. I will pass to my team member.
Okay, my name is Indran. For the third journal, the effect of rollover protection systems and trailers on quad bike stability. This journal were published on 2020, and the abstract is this paper discuss about the analysis of the risk of injuries during a rollover incident on a light vehicle, which is quad bikes. Furthermore, also have examined the effects of approach angle, trailer load, rollover protection system, which is known as ROPS, ropes, and different hardware configuration on a quad bike static stability. The methodology study A focused mainly on 3 aspects, measuring the effects on static stability of firstly an attached to tow trailer, including trailer load sizes and load distribution. Second, the approach angle of a squat bike and its trailer to a slope. And third mounting heavy ropes to the quad bike. Based on the result from the study a light prototype rollover protection system was implemented and used in study B. Okay, study A, which is effect of approach angle, heavy ropes, and trailer load. Which in this study, the quad bike used was with a selected weight and tire pressure. 2 different load sizes were used in this study. The ropes consisted of 4 posted cage attached to the quad bike's front and rear loading racks. These ropes is to prevent the quad bike and trailer from sliding as the table was lifted. 4 different angles were approached in this study. Next is about study B, which is effects of hardware configuration and light ropes. The quad bike was equipped with adjustable suspension for all wheels, and the hardest and softer settings for suspension stiffness was used in this study. The rope study was experimented 2 post prototypes, center mounted to the front and rear loading racks as well as to the hitch. The quad bike was placed perpendicular to the slope in all trails. Thanks. Okay, these are the result outputs which was in the journal. And next. Okay, the discussion and result is the result shows that for study A, an increase in angle correlates with an increase of static stability. The load transfer from the trailer to the quad bike had no major effect regardless of approach angle. Meanwhile, adding the light ropes tested in the study B significantly reduced the quad bike stability. However, the reduction was substantially less than that resulting from adding the heavy ropes as tested in study A. As the load on the downward side of the vehicle increases to the point where the quad bike is on the verge of rolling, the vehicle's soft tires and suspension are compressed, which reduces its stability further. Lastly, about the journal, we can conclude that the quad bike's retrostatic stability was highly influenced by the weight of the rollover protection system. When using a loaded timber trailer, the trailer normally tilts before the quad bike, especially with large loads. Next,
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Faris. I will explain about the Journal 4 Rollover Index for the diagnosis of triple and untripped rollover. The classic rollover indices currently used in the vehicle only discover the untripped rollover. Untripped rollover cannot be identified using classic indices repercussion from vertical external force in a log direction. To improve this index, we study the dynamic of a SUV in this research to detect both types of the rollover. So the methodology used in this research is computer simulation. Car sim software was employed to simulate 4 degrees of freedom suspension system. A new model of 6 and 8 degrees of freedom. In the first test, in the first test taken from the car sim software, the speed was constant and equal to 80 km per hour. For the second test, the speed was 100 km per hour. The diagram below show the rollover index for 6 degree of freedom suspension system. The two symmetrical equal masses added to unsprung part suspension system with 4 freedom. The diagram for the above is a rollover index for automobile suspension system with 8 degree of freedom. Two symmetrical equal masses were added to the sprung part and also MR damper of the hybrid suspension system with 8 degree of freedom. The result of this research, in the first test, the index was obtained about 20% less than other indices. In the second test, the value increased to 6%, 60% for the model with 6 degree freedom, and to 80% for the model with 8 degree of freedom. It was also specified that the automobile has better stability performance in the 8 degree of freedom model compared to with the 6 degree and 4 degree freedom model. In conclusion, the good performance of the new system can be easily seen in the first and second test. The performance improved in the new system is high in the moment the first tire is detached from the ground surface. That's all. I will pass for the next presenter.
Thank you, Fares. My name is Satish Analaki Ganesh. Today I'll be presenting the Journal 5 Rollover Crashworthiness of Quad Bikes and Side-by-Side Vehicles, a comparative laboratory testing study on 2016. Abstract. This study presents the result of a rollover crashworthiness test program consisting of quad bike with and without an OPD and SSV laboratory rollover crash test. A contact loads measured for the different orientation of the quad bike are shown in table 2. When rolled 90 degrees, the quad bike rested on the same 4 contact points irrespective of whether an OPD was fitted or not. The ground contact points were the left front wheel, left rear wheel, left front plastic wheel guard. Left rear plastic wheel guard. The front left wheel applied the greatest load, typically accounting for the third one of the vehicle mass of 293 kg. The load split in front to rear, however, was almost equal. One of the 4 contact points, left front plastic wheel guard, was the load less than 50 kg. The contact loads ranged from 42 kg to 114 kg. Methodology. The rollover crashworthiness test program consisted of 65 quad bike and SSV tests and SSV inspection focusing on 4 different areas, all relating to vehicle rollover crashworthiness characteristics, namely measurement of quad bike ground contact loads, measurement of SSV's occupants retention system, quad bike and SSV dynamic rollover test, and SSV ROPS structure load test. This is table B. Next slide. Then the discussion, the characteristics determined from the 4 series of tests, namely contact loads when a quad bike pins a rider as a result of a rollover incident, occupants contaminant provided by vehicle restraints, occupant survival space provided by an OPD or ROPS, has provided some useful information that can potentially help with the design of quad bikes and SSV to reduce a driver's or rider's risk of harm in a rollover crash within the workplace. Finally, the conclusion. In a conclusion, fundamentally quad bikes where the rider straddles the vehicle do not and cannot satisfy the well-known principles of occupant protection in a rollover crash offered by an SSV. That's all from me. Thank you.
Alright, that's all from us. So what can be concluded from this assignment that there are a lot of research papers and articles regarding the rollover dynamics of a light vehicle. So from doing this assignment, there are lots of knowledge that we can learn and study it, so that in the future we can apply this in our next career. So thank you from all of us. Right. So this is the reference. Alright, done.